with you. I'm just watching our sunset. See this big bird? That one's big, right? These ones are coming. They're late, right? They're coming home late today. Late. Wow, look at those birds. The wind is so high that the birds find it hard to get around. Look at that. Wow. Oh well. Yeah? Now the bats are out. What the bats are? Whoa. Hmm? Hmm. Let's not go with it. There's still birds coming. Wow. They're still coming. So much more to the sunset than just the sun going below the horizon. When this, well, I was going to say when 2022, but this thing began long before 2022 now. It began with World War II. And that began with World War I. And that began with the Napoleonic Wars. You see where I'm going with this? They're all connected. All the way back to Egypt. The people who came into Egypt, who talked about in the Bible as a new Pharaoh ruled over Egypt. It goes all the way back. And that's 6,000 years. A lot of people just look at their Bible as the only thing that speaks about the history of man. But you're not going to find the wars with the British and the French trying to take over the Suez Canal in the Bible. I've heard people refer to this war as the one from Ezekiel chapter 38. And they're forgetting something. That this Israel cannot be the one that's spoken of then. He talked about a city that is at peace and people being jealous, and they gathered together to go fight against this place called Israel. This Israel is not at peace. It is armed to the teeth. And they have a doctrine that says they will use nuclear weapons as a first strike. Not as somebody dropped a nuclear weapon on Israel and they're going to strike back, but as a strike. The other day, China came out and says, we're going to defend our interests. Just a few days before Iran defended its country, and they were defending their country. When you attack another country's embassy, you're attacking that land, that country. Did you see the war between Ukraine and Russia? Ukraine didn't attack the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. or anywhere in the world. Why? Why do you think that is? But you see, the people who you call Israel are not Israel. They call themselves by that name. Imposters, as it is said. Everybody know it now. The funny thing is that the African Union tried to bring these people into Africa. Western Cape in South Africa is trying to break away from the South Africa, the country of South Africa, the state of South Africa. the people in Western Cape were trained by Israelis. Israelis trained the South African army, helped South Africa build atomic bombs to fight against Africans. These same people sterilized Ethiopians. And I've heard them say, you are Israelites, but you have to convert to Judaism to become Jews. And these foolish people who are the original gave up their identity to become a Jew. Now they're fighting for Benjamin Netanyahu. Just think about that. This is what Africans do. It's like giving up your identity to fight for Saudi Arabia. And that has happened. It's for the average man to grasp the thought process of Africa. Just think about it. Actions, the actions. You will say that after such a long time, we'll go back 2,000 years of Africans enslaving themselves to fight for other people. They enslave themselves to other people so they can fight for them. The last being the British, American, French, German. It's difficult to comprehend. And still today, with the supposedly educated, they lived around Europe for how long now? Since the war ended, they've been building Europe. Still learning nothing. Learning nothing. People who will sit in the village or wherever they are, not question the so-called traditional leaders. Well, they are traditional leaders. They make traditions that enslaved. You will hear Fuller talk about in Gambia, the war with them. Well, wait a minute. First of all, people in the diaspora don't know about those things. But the Fuller has fought against almost every other tribe in West Africa. And if you go back and ask any of them, they can tell you the day and the time what happened. See, when we, the diaspora, well, not we, because me, I know about these things, but most diasporans come back to Africa. Not the ones who were born in Africa and left, but the ones who come back, not knowing anything about history. We don't dig into things like that. And things like that play a large part in the mindset, the thought process of today's Africa. when you see elections in Africa and tribes fighting against each other, to select somebody who was selected, given to them by what they call a democratic process, given to them now by British or French, and tell them, here's who you're going to vote for. And one will say, he's not Maasai. Another one will say, oh no, he's not Fula. He's not Yoruba. He's not Hausa. And they fight over this. When you bring yourself from England and France, Germany, or every place else in the US and plant yourself into this process, what do you think is going to happen? I don't hear any of the YouTubers talking about these things. The idiocy that they talk about to make their use to AdSense. I just shake my head and laugh at the time. And these are the things that we need to know. Because they are serious. Africans in Africa take these things seriously. That's why I point this camera at the sunset and you're watching it change. But all you were thinking about the sun's going down, but you're not seeing the changes that is happening. You're not looking at what's going on in Africa for real. Your only thought was, I gotta get out of America. But when you got out of America, you put yourself in a situation worse than the one you were in America. And you don't realize it. All you can think of as America is the police and racism. But when you come to Africa, you deal with life and death. And you don't hear about the deaths. It's only, the last month or so that you've been hearing about how many diasporans are dying in Africa. And you only hear about Gambia. You don't hear about Nigeria. And Nigeria is even worse than Gambia. You go to Nigeria, you disappear into the bush. Nobody knows where you go. You go to a police checkpoint, you disappear. Ghana, same thing. Not getting talked about. The sun is set. At least you think so. But look at the sky. See all those clouds that when the sun started going down, there weren't any clouds there. These clouds didn't just suddenly appear. The clouds were there all along, but the sunlight were masking them to make the sky a clear blue. Appearances deceiving. Have a great day wherever you are. Peace.